A very good morning. It's just past 10 by the clock. We are back again with another edition of News on the Hour. This is your one-stop show for all that matters from the field of politics, business, sports, entertainment. Also a big look at the fight against COVID-19 and the vaccination drive that's picking up pace in India and the world. Well, we cut all the noise, bring you news as it happens there. Facts and only facts. Well, I'm Anil Thomas. Let's get started this Saturday morning with the top headlines. Prime Minister Modi appeals that the mega Kumbhila should now only be symbolic amid coronavirus crisis. PM stresses that it will give a boost to the fight against the pandemic. Prime Minister Narendra Modi takes stock of the availability of medical oxygen in the country at a high-level meeting. Directs authorities to ensure adequate stocks for the next 15 days, especially for the 12 states worst hit by the pandemic. Centre asks states to ensure unhindered interstate movement of oxygen tankers, urges them not to force oxygen manufacturers to limit the oxygen supplies to state only. Centre also decides to ramp up production of the indigenous corona vaccine, Covaxin, production to be doubled by May-June and 6 to 7 times by August 2021. Voting underway for the fifth phase of West Bengal Assembly elections. COVID restrictions being followed. All arrangements in place. By-poll in 2 seats of Lok Sabha and 12 Assembly seats of 9 states. Campaigning for the 6th phase of West Bengal elections gains momentum. Prime Minister to address 2 election rallies. Senior BJP leader and Home Minister will also address various rallies. TMC and other parties are also scheduled to address campaign rallies to woo voters. US President Joe Biden seeks to present united front with Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga. US leader holds his first face-to-face meet since taking office in Jan. Biden says Suga affirms support for US-Japanese alliance and for shared security. The Indian Cricket Board BCCI agrees to field both men's and women's team for the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics. BCCI also agrees to field its women team for the Birmingham Commonwealth Games next year. Well, those were the headlines at the top of this hour. Now for the stories in detail, starting first up with the Kumbhila. Amid a huge number of people testing positive from the Kumbhila area in Haridwar, Prime Minister Narendra Modi this morning urged that the Kumbhila should now only be symbolic amid the coronavirus. He stressed that it will give a boost in the fight against COVID-19 pandemic. Prime Minister Modi spoke to Acharya Swamy of Jaishankar on the phone and inquired about the health of all the saints. All the saints are providing support to the administration for a smooth conduct of the affair. The Prime Minister further said that now the 2 royal baths have taken place. He appealed to everyone to keep Kumbh Mela symbolic due to the COVID-19 crisis. This will give strength to India's fight against the virus. Many Sikhs have tested positive for COVID-19 after the commencement of Kumbh. Well, responding to the Prime Minister's call, Swamy of Jaishankar urged people to not come to the Kumbh Mela for bathing in large numbers and adhere to the COVID-19 appropriate behavior. He wrote that he was honored by the call by the Honorable Prime Minister. Protecting life is a great virtue. Well, for more on this story, we've got our correspondent Arun Sharma joining us this morning. Arun, good morning. Arun, clearly a clarion call there by the Prime Minister when it comes to, urging especially the Mahants, also urging the people not to come for, since the 2 royal baths are over now, it's not, it's more of a symbolic gesture with the Kumbh continuing and expecting people not to come to Haridwar in large numbers.
Faith That's pretty right. That COVID crisis as of now, the way the numbers are increasing. So in that context, we know this fact that Prime Minister Narendra Modi, he had a telephonic conversation as well with Swamy Deshananji, and of course he took stock of the situation as well, and of course inquired about the health of the sadhus who took the holy dip over there. But interestingly and more importantly, which is need of the hour as well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi clearly said and urged this to the sadhu sons of society that two shahi snans have already taken place, and now it could be symbolic in nature as the number of coronavirus and the COVID cases are increasing over a period of time, and it should be symbolic in nature. It's a matter of faith which everybody respects, but it should be symbolic in nature now, and he has urged that not much people now should come forward, and of course various sadhu sons of various akhadas as well, they're also now appealing that now people should not come in large number. There shouldn't be congregation as far as this Kumbh is concerned.
Okay.
So in this context, it is considered to be a very important step from the Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and of course the local administration as well, and of course last but not the least from the sadhus and sons as well, who are now primarily, after these two shahi snans, it is now can be considered that it is going to be symbolic in nature, because that's what Prime Minister Narendra Modi also appealed over here.
Okay, also Arun, put this into perspective. Does the state government here come into play, especially when it comes to now coming hard on people? People would still think that the Kumbh Mela is still the 30th of April. So people could still think of, making a visit, of taking a holy dip in this particular period. So does the state government here need to act a bit more stern, especially now that the Prime Minister has also indicated, and, Swamy Deshananand has also indicated that, let it be more symbolic in nature, so that people are stopped, or people are somewhere, there is some check and balance being put in place, especially in the sea of faith.
So Anil, the top leadership of our country, when when Prime Minister Narendra Modi himself urging people, and of course the sadhu sons of our country, that this should be symbolic in nature. So this of course gives a sense to each and everybody of this country that yes, the Kumbh Mela should be, the Shahi Kumbh Mela primarily should be symbolic in nature. That's number one. Talking about the state government, yes, state government is ensuring that even during the Kumbh Mela or this Kumbh Shahi Snan, the state government is ensuring that social distancing can be ensured. That's what the local administration, and of course the state government has ensured time and again that this Kumbh Mela can be ensured with some social distancing as well. But the way the coronavirus cases have been on a rise, and of course we have seen that the infection that has spread is very much rapidly. So in that context, now sadhus, the sants, the devotees primarily are understanding this fact that this can be harmful as far as COVID cases are concerned. This can give further spike to the COVID cases. So as Prime Minister Narendra Modi clearly urging it to the people that these kind of Kumbh Snan or Shahi Snan, already two snans have taken place. So now the time has come that this should be symbolic in nature, and in that context, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's appeal, his telephonic conversation with Swamy Deshananand, this gives a message that yes, people will be making less congregation over there. There will be less crowd over there. So on one side, the state government will be ensuring that there is proper social distancing as far as Kumbh Mela is concerned. So on the other side, it is also very well understood that people are also now realizing this fact that this this can be adverse to the health conditions or the COVID situation as well. So yes, it's indeed an important step by Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
Okay, Prime Minister's appeal, Swamy Deshananand clearly urging the people to now not come to Kumbh for bathing in large numbers. The Mela ends on the 30th of this month, and clearly taking it to Twitter in today's time, social media, the way in which people, at least the Mahans can connect more to the people, clearly sending out a message on Twitter asking people now to refrain and let this particular Mela, since the two snans are over, let it more be symbolic in nature. Thank you and appreciate you joining us, Arun Sharma, this morning with those updates there on especially the Kumbh Mela in Haridwar. While staying with the Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Friday took a comprehensive review to ensure adequate supply of medical oxygen in the country. Prime Minister has asserted that it is important to ensure synergy across ministries and state governments to ensure that adequate availability of oxygen supply. He has directed that the increase of production of medical oxygen be done so that the demands or the growing demands can be fulfilled. Prime Minister took a detailed review of the current situation of oxygen supply and projected use in the coming 15 days across the 12 high-burden states. An overview of district-level situation in these states was presented to the Prime Minister. He was also informed that oxygen cylinders filling plants will also be permitted to function round the clock with necessary safeguards. The government is allowing industrial cylinders to be used for medical oxygen after due purging. Similarly, nitrogen and argon tankers will be automatically allowed to be converted to oxygen tankers to overcome the potential shortage of tankers. Prime Minister was also informed about the efforts being made to import medical-grade oxygen. Well, the centre has asked all states and union territories to ensure hassle-free inter- and intrastate movement of vehicles carrying medical oxygen. In a letter written to the Chief Secretaries of all states and union territories, Union Home Secretary Ajay Bhalla has asked them to fully comply with the supply plan prepared for distribution of medical logistics, including medical oxygen. The state governments have been urged to ensure that no restriction shall be imposed on oxygen manufacturers and suppliers to limit the oxygen supplies only to the hospitals of the states in which they are located. The local administration has been asked to ensure that there shall be free movement of oxygen-carrying vehicles into the cities without any restrictions of timings, while also enabling interstate supply without restriction. The transport authorities in the states and union territories should be instructed to allow free interstate movement of oxygen-carrying vehicles. An empowered group mandated for coordinating medical logistics, including oxygen, had prepared a supply plan this week for ensuring its incessant supply across the country. The centre has also said that the medical oxygen is an essential public health commodity and any impediment in its supplies can critically impact the management of patients suffering from COVID-19 disease in other parts of the country. Well, India has reported 1,09,997 new COVID-19 cases in the last 24 hours, as per the Union Health Ministry. One lakh 23,254 recoveries being recorded in the last 24 hours, taking that cumulative total of recovered patients to 1,26,71,220. With this, the recovery rate currently stands at 87.23%. India's total active caseload stands at over 16,79,000 today. The country's present active caseload consists of 11.56% of the total positive cases, and the fatality rate stands at 1.21%. Well, looking at the testing updates, as per the Indian Council of Medical Research, that's ICMR, over 26,49,72,000 samples have been tested for COVID-19 in the country so far. That includes 14,95,000 samples being tested in a single day, 16th of April, that's Friday. Well, the total vaccinations across the country have approached nearly the 12 crore mark, with more than 30 lakh vaccine doses administered on Friday. The cumulative number of COVID-19 vaccine doses administered in the country so far stand at 11 crore 99 lakh 37,641. 30,04,554 doses were administered on Friday, 16th of April. 45,000 centers are on an average functioning on any given day. Workplace vaccinations have also enabled such a high turnout of beneficiaries. Heading to western part of India and Maharashtra in particular, which is reporting one of the most worrisome numbers when it comes to COVID-19 pandemic in the country. Maharashtra's poor health infrastructure is chiefly responsible for the surge in COVID-19 cases, and the state is struggling to meet the growing demand for oxygen and antiviral drug Remdesivir at medical facilities. Recently, 7 COVID-19 patients died in 2 private hospitals in Nalasopara, while 3 others succumbed at the Riddhi Vinayak Hospital within the Mumbai metropolitan region. While the families of the relatives blame the lack of oxygen supply at the hospitals for the deaths, civic authorities and the hospital management denied the charge. Meanwhile, family members of the coronavirus patients sat on a dharna at the collector's office in Pune due to the unavailability of Remdesivir injection shots. Well, to now take a look at how precarious Maharashtra is placed, we are heading down to the western part of India in Maharashtra, where our correspondent joins from the financial capital of India, Mumbai, to give us more updates. Shishir Shelar joining us this morning. Shishir, good morning. Nice to see you on air. Shishir, looking at the way things stand, do you somewhere feel, the state government is doing all that it can? But, what seems to be, the cause of concern when you look at the rising number of cases, the rising number of vaccinations being done, but still, there seems to be some kind of, inefficiency or some kind of, lack of either infrastructure or, how do you put it, when you look at Maharashtra and the numbers that Maharashtra throws up, especially when it comes to COVID.
Well, absolutely, Anil, you rightly said here that multiple, reasons that we have seen this number has increased. It has some reasons, with respect to the government part also, and some of it, we can say that because of people also. So both are responsible for this rising number. Even yesterday, we have seen 63,000 cases Maharashtra has registered. As I'm telling to you, every day, the numbers crossing 60,000. Earlier, it was 50,000. I was talking to you like last week. But now it's crossed 60,000, and that's what the numbers that we're getting every day. Although the recovery rate of the Maharashtra is above 80%, that numbers are showing here. Yesterday, nearly 40,000 plus people have been discharged from the hospital here. But still, this number count actually, is getting quite a bigger and bigger day by day. And that's the reason, if you look at why these numbers are increasing, then obviously the first reason, because it has a humongous number that we see every day here, and to provide medical facility to all of them is quite a tough task for the government here. That's one reason. The second important reason is, of course, the infrastructure that we're talking about. The infrastructure about providing beds, ventilators, at the same time, oxygens. These are required, and this is a timely required infrastructure. If you don't get it in time, probably you may see the fatality also. And that's what we are registering in Maharashtra also. Somewhere we have seen 200 to 300 deaths each day. So that's another reason here that we're going to see here. But another factor I want to point out here is that yesterday, even Chief Minister have also conducted a meeting with the officials, and they've said that once you do your RT-PCR test, the result should get within a day or 2 days. Earlier, you can easily do RT-PCR test within a few hours once you get a call, or if you want to go for any testing center, you can conduct your RT-PCR test, and within a day, probably you used to get your test results. But currently in Maharashtra, if you want to book it, the RT-PCR test online, probably it takes almost 48 hours.
Okay.
After 48 hours, the authority comes, or the lab technicians comes, they take your swab, and the result comes after 24 to 48 hours. So that's humongous time that we'll see. Once you get the symptoms, and by the time you confirm that you are COVID positive, it's almost 3 to 4 days. In meanwhile, you get passed away. And that's the reason these numbers are increasing day by day. So these are small technicalities that government is also focusing upon. But obviously, as I rightly said, that infrastructure lacks, and that's the reason this time lapse probably we are seeing in these everyday cases here. yesterday CM had an interaction with the officials, and they said that we have to reduce this time and we have to increase the testing also. At the same time, the time you take for test results also need to be reduced, because once a COVID patient is tested positive, we have to see that we have to track that patient, we have to trace the patient that in last 3 to 4 days whom he has contacted. Obviously, that number has already been stipulated by the center that nearly 20 to 30 people need to be traced here. So is that tracing happening or not exactly? That is also one of the important questions. So these 3 factors that we need to look into consideration when we see 63,000 numbers have been increasing. Obviously now lockdown is under implementation in Maharashtra. It's the 3rd day of the lockdown. And what the government authority is thinking is that yesterday one of the Maharashtra cabinet ministers pointed out one thing is that if people keep coming on the streets in the market, then probably the state will have to take some stern action. Well, this is a lockdown that probably are looking after, but a few more services are open at this point in time to give relief to the people. But if the numbers are increasing, probably the Maharashtra government may take stern action, and probably we may see that even the market will close down, and all the services will be open only for the people working in essential services. So that's the kind of thing given by the cabinet minister.
Shishir, Bombay has got a very unique collection point when it comes to, taking the waste from outside your building. Is there something similar planned when it comes to essential services, so that people are not, even given the liberty to step out of their house, because, you have it at your doorstep or at the gate of your society where you can pick your essentials, your daily essentials like vegetables, fruits, also milk and bread?
Well, that's quite a micromanagement that we are thinking about. Actually, you need even good infrastructure for that. Currently, it seems that Mumbai's population density, it's quite difficult to implement operational these kind of activities everywhere in Mumbai. That's the reason, as far as essential is concerned, probably like last time what we have seen here, that people have been allowed to go out to buy essentials or vegetables only during morning hour between 6 to 8. That's the time given by the state government. And that's the reason at various locations we used to see the rush during morning time, but entire daytime we used to see that the markets are closed, the streets are already almost vacant here. So obviously that kind of lockdown probably is what state government and probably some of the ministers in the government is thinking. And that's what the hint they've also given when one of the ministers spoke on record with the media looking at this number. He said that probably the state government may take some stern action.
Okay, one quick word before I let you go. The producer already told me that there is paucity of time, but looking at 398 deaths in the last 24 hours, that's almost what Russia has faced. Russia has got as a country has got 397 deaths in the last 24 hours. When you talk about these numbers, how difficult or how cumbersome is the task, especially when it comes to the state security systems in place to manage this particular pandemic? Does this now look out of proportion or gigantic?
Well, absolutely looks gigantic here. The reason, as I told you, is that of course lack of infrastructure here. But what the doctors are saying is that the fatality rate in Maharashtra is under control here. Well, obviously the numbers are quite high, but we have to look at the numbers also. The people who get positive, that number also we have to keep in mind. It's almost 60,000, sometimes 63,000 a day. So keeping that in mind, even the one death is also not good. But if you look at the comparison between this, probably the doctors are saying that the fatality rate is less, and they try to reduce it further by taking some of the important measures here, as far as increasing the oxygen beds or ventilators or Remdesivir injection supply of it. So all these things probably if government try to put in a good place and good shape, then probably we may see that fatality rate will also go down. Currently, obviously, it's almost 250 to 300. Sometimes we see more than 350 deaths in a day. But if these things put in place, probably we may see the reduced numbers in deaths also.
Well, thank you and appreciate you joining us, Shishir. Also, take good care of yourself. We'll come back to you across the day for more updates. Keep yourself hydrated and keep yourself safe and stay healthy. Thank you and appreciate you joining us this morning on News on the Hour. Well, shifting now to the national capital, Delhi. In view of the surge in COVID-19 cases, Delhi is under weekend restrictions beginning last night for those categories of persons engaged in essential services or goods and personal emergencies, etc. As per the DDMA orders, movement passes are being issued. Delhi Police has started a helpline to facilitate the movement pass for eligible persons as per the DDMA orders to help persons in essential services and goods move freely. The helpline is set up at the police headquarters with pilot number 011-234-699-00. I'll repeat the number 011-234-699-00. In case such eligible persons face any difficulty or inconvenience in getting their movement passes from police authorities or seek any clarifications, they can call for assistance on the Delhi Police Movement Pass helpline number. Delhi in the last 24 hours has reported 19,486 new cases and 141 fatalities. This numbers are from 16th of April. So clearly, last 24 hours, 141 fatalities, over 19,000 cases. Delhi's positivity rate at this point of time, 19.69%, while 12,649 patients have recovered on Friday. Cumulative positive cases in Delhi stand at 8,03,623. COVID-19 tests conducted in the national capital in a single day stood at 98,957. Well, Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal will hold a review meeting on the COVID-19 situation today. Nodal Minister for COVID-19 Management Manish Sisodia, Health Minister Satyendra Jain and other officials will also take part in the meeting. Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath has ordered complete lockdown beginning tonight at 8 p.m. till 7 a.m. on Monday. During the lockdown, there will be sanitization drive in rural and urban areas. Only essential services are available during the lockdown. A fine of 1,000 rupees against the violators who are not wearing masks at public place. In case of repeated violation, 10,000 rupees will be charged along with the provision of punishment. To fight the COVID-19 battle, UP government has declared KGMU Balrampur Hospital as dedicated COVID hospital and only COVID patients will be treated in those facilities. Also, the state government is planning to build a 1,000-bed COVID facility at the venue of Defence Expo soon. Meanwhile, corona cases rapidly spreading in Uttar Pradesh. The state has reported 27,426 cases in a single day.
मास्क लगाने के लिए सबको जरूरी किया जाए और यदि पब्लिक प्लेसेस में यदि सार्वजनिक स्थानों पर कोई बिना मास्क के पाया जाता है तो उसके ऊपर पहली बार 1,000 रुपए तथा दूसरी बार 10 गुना ज्यादा उस पर जुर्माना किया जाए। इनसे लोगों में मास्क लगाने की प्रवृत्ति बढ़ेगी। इससे अतिरिक्त जो मुख्यतः 4 जनपद हैं कानपुर, प्रयागराज, वाराणसी, लखनऊ, इस सब में अतिरिक्त बेड बढ़ाने का उन्होंने निर्देश दिया है। उन्हें कोविड अस्पतालों में परिवर्तित करने का आदेश दिया है।
Well, voting now, shifting focus to elections in West Bengal, where voting is underway for the 5th phase of assembly elections. During the 5th phase of state assembly elections, a total of 319 candidates, including 39 women, are vying for 45 assembly seats spread over 6 districts. BJP is contesting on all the 45 seats while running or ruling All India Trinamool Congress, so that's the TMC, is contesting in 42 seats. Congress left parties and their alliance partners Indian Secular Front are fighting under the banner of Sanyukt Morcha. Over 1 crore 13 lakh voters, including 56 lakh 11,000 women and 224 third gender persons, will decide the fate of these candidates. In view of the COVID-19 pandemic, the Election Commission has decided to allow a maximum of 1,000 voters in one polling station. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has urged the people to vote in large numbers in today's 5th phase of West Bengal elections. He said the first-time voters in particular should exercise their franchise. Voters with COVID-infected or suspected infections have the facility to vote by postal ballot after certification by the competent authority. A total of 1,071 companies of security forces are deployed for the 5th phase. Meanwhile, paramilitary forces have also been adequately deployed to prevent any disturbance in the election. Voting is also being held for the by-elections in 2 Lok Sabha seats and 12 assembly seats in 9 states. By-elections are being held for Tirupati in Andhra Pradesh and Belgaum Lok Sabha seat in Karnataka. Polling will conclude at 6:30 p.m. today. Well, to get us a perspective on how election phase 5 election polling in phase 5 of West Bengal is going on. We've got Anibrito joining us this morning. Anibrito, good morning. Firstly, how has been the people's response, especially, the Prime Minister's call asking young voters to come and vote and exercise their power in this particular, right of democracy. But what's been the response there, especially from, those 45 seats that go to the polls? Is there an excitement, or is there a fear factor that somewhere creeped in with the rising number of COVID-19 cases?
Yeah, Anil, as you know, the corona pandemic registered a persistent rise, and it's indeed a ruling roost. But braving all odds, we have found in the early morning, the voters joined in line in large number. In fact, where we are standing is the ABP polling station. There are 3 booths there inside, and we found a serpentine lane that was sneaking inside the booth. But right at this point of time, there is no such line as such, but voters are coming in 1 and 2 and casting their vote. As you said, that the corona pandemic is, it's created a fear psychosis in the minds of the people. But braving all odds, as we find every time in the Bengal election, that the voters in large number come and cast their vote. This time also no exception as such. And but all COVID protocols are being strictly adhered. The circles have been made there where the voters have been asked to stand, and thereafter, this rapid, this testing is being made there, and they have been given gloves and sanitizer, all these things. And if anyone is found having temperature above the permissible limits, they are given token and asked to cast their vote after 5:30. So the thing is that this phase, the 5th phase, we are halfway, across the halfway mark of this Bengal election, of the 8th phase election. The thing is that this phase is looked as the most crucial phase, because it is being said that this phase will decide who will come to power, will come to the seat of power in Bengal. But if you take into account of the 2016 assembly election, BJP drew a blank. But thereafter in 2019 in Lok Sabha election, they largely railed into the different hinterlands, in the bastions of the Trinamool Congress. And in the 45 seats where the polling is being underway today, we have found that in Lok Sabha election, and BJP registered almost 45.1% seat, and while Trinamool Congress was lying far behind, they got only 39%. But thing is that where we are standing is a Bidhannagar constituency, the fringe of Kolkata. It's a very talked about seat, as being told. In the Lok Sabha election, what we found that BJP, got lead of almost 18,000, more than 18,000. So this time is to be seen who rides over the other. That is the most talked about issue.
Now looking at this particular phase of elections and the 45 seats here, let's break this up. 2016, this was almost a home run for the TMC, but that's changed very drastically in the 2019 Lok Sabha elections. This time around, when you see the percentage of votes, there is just a 4%, 4% swing for either parties, which could tilt the odds in their favor. Having said that, this time around, do you feel this particular phase 5 election battle is much more fiercely fought?
Yeah, it's truly, because no one is ready to lend access to the other, and neck-to-neck contest is being held here. And because, as you know, so far since early morning, what we have found, and where we are standing at this booth, almost 40% turnout has been registered. In other places, in North 24 Pargana alone, we have got a report that almost 30% turnout is there. So as you see that as I am time and again is telling, this phase is indeed very crucial in the sense because since after 2019 Lok Sabha election, we have found that the BJP saffron surge almost in every nook and corner of West Bengal, and BJP entered into the different hinterlands, into the bastions of Trinamool Congress. Now, how this thing will catapult into this election, and that will be largely reflected when the results will be declared on the 2nd May.
Okay, also looking at, this particular phase is more about, the hilly regions, especially Darjeeling and that. How do you see that particular region? That's going to be Is there a fierce battle there too? That's brewing between the two parties.
Anil, hill polling is largely different because this time different equations have been set up because Trinamool aligned with the Gorkha Janamukti Morcha and they have the Rajbongshi support with this thing. The BJP also equally claiming that they have the Rajbongshi support with them. Again, there is, SC/ST community. They are also a big factor in this Bengal election because SC community, constitutes more than 28% of the seat, 28% of the population, And this particular phase where more than 1 crore of the voters are going to cast their vote, it is taken in the decisive in the true sense of word because it is being said that this phase will alone come to the seat of power in Bengal this time.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Thank you and appreciate you joining us this morning, giving us an update there from how things are developing there, especially in this phase of elections. That's one of the biggest. 45 seats are for grabs. Remember, there are 3 more phases of elections, especially West Bengal Assembly elections that are still left, 22nd, 26th, 29th, counting of votes for not only the state of West Bengal, but also Kerala, Assam, as well as Tamil Nadu, along with the Union Territory of Puducherry will take place on the 2nd of May. But it's a hard-fought battle there, and Anibrito clearly putting it there. No party ready to give other any space, and clearly it's a battle to the finish, especially when it comes to the 2 big players in these elections. Well, moving on, but staying with West Bengal and the elections there, campaigning for the 6th phase of elections in West Bengal gained momentum today. In this phase, polling will be held on the 22nd for 43 assembly seats in 4 districts of the state. Prime Minister will address 2 election rallies in Asansol and the other in Gangarampur. Senior BJP leader and Union Home Minister Amit Shah will hold a roadshow today in Amdanga. He will also address public meetings in the state. West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee will also address rallies to woo the voters. Well, Chief Electoral Officer of West Bengal on Friday held an all-party meeting to build the consensus on polling during the rest of the phases, the remaining 3 phases rather, in the state of West Bengal. After the meeting, the Election Commission issued detailed guidelines prescribing arrangements at polling stations in view of the ongoing elections and the unprecedented health concerns. It has banned rallies, public meetings, street plays and nukkad sabhas from 7 p.m. to 10 a.m. starting from the 16th of April in poll-bound West Bengal. In addition to this, the campaigning will have to end 72 hours before the 6th, 7th and 8th phase of voting. The campaigning for these phases shall end at 6:30 p.m. on the 19th of April. The Election Commission has also directed the organizers of the public meetings to ensure distribution of masks and sanitizers to all those participating in the rally. Well, moving to international stories now, starting first up with President Joe Biden and Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga on Friday, exchanging views on the impact of China's actions on peace and prosperity in the Indo-Pacific region and the world. Both the leaders also shared their concerns over Chinese activities that are inconsistent with the international rules-based order. The Friday's meeting was Biden's first face-to-face White House summit since taking office in Jan. Joe Biden hosted Suga for talks that offered the Democratic president a chance to work further on his pledge to revitalize U.S. alliance that frayed under the Republican predecessor, Donald Trump.
Affirmed our ironclad support for U.S.-Japanese alliance and for our shared security. We committed to working together to take on the challenges from China and on issues like the East China Sea, the South China Sea, as well as North Korea, to ensure a future of a free and open Indo-Pacific. Japan and the United States are 2 strong democracies in the region, and we're committed to defending and advancing our shared values, including human rights and the rule of law.
Well, Biden also said that the US and Japan will together invest in areas such as 5G, artificial intelligence, quantum computing, genomics, and semiconductor supply chains. Meanwhile, Japanese Prime Minister Suga said he and Biden agreed on the necessity of frank discussions with China in the context of Beijing's activities in the Indo-Pacific region and reaffirmed the importance of the US-Japan alliance.
We also had serious talks on China's influence over the peace and prosperity of the Pacific and the world at large. We agreed to oppose any attempts to change the status quo by force or coalition in the East and South China Seas and intimidation of others in the region. At the same time, we agreed on the necessity for each of us to engage in frank dialogue with China and in so doing to pursue stability of international relations while upholding universal values.
Well, Joe Biden and Japanese Prime Minister Suga committed to further strengthening the US-Japan alliance to expand on this vision and fully endorse the March 2021 joint statement of the US-Japan Security Consultative Committee. Well, speaking about the shooting at a FedEx facility in Indianapolis where a gunman killed 8 employees, US Vice President Kamala Harris on Friday said there is no question this violence must end. Meanwhile, authorities said on Friday that it was still too early to know what motivated a gunman who killed 8 employees at a FedEx facility. The shooting, the latest in a spate of recent mass shootings across the United States that has reignited a fiery debate over gun violence, unfolded at a FedEx operations center near the Indianapolis International Airport. Officers found the suspect dead inside the facility of an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound along with 4 other victims. The other 4 victims were outside. External Affairs Minister of India Dr. S. Jaishankar has expressed deep shock over the shooting incident at FedEx facility in Indianapolis. The minister said the victims include people of Indian American Sikh community. India's consulate is in touch with the mayor and local authorities in Indianapolis as well as the community leaders and will render all possible assistance. Well, US President Joe Biden on Friday said US firearms deaths are a national embarrassment following a shooting in Indianapolis that killed 8 people and called on Congress to ban military-style assault firearms. Earlier this month, Biden announced limited measures to tackle gun violence that included a crackdown on self-assembled ghost guns. But most stringent measures face an uphill battle in a divided Congress where Republican lawmakers have long opposed any new gun limits. 8 people were shot to death at 3-day spas in the Atlanta area in mid-March, raising fears that the gunman had targeted Asian Americans amid a rise in hate crimes. Days later, a gunman killed 10 people at a Colorado grocery store. Friday also marked the 14th anniversary of the deadliest school shooting in U.S. history at Virginia Tech, which saw 32 people killed. Well, it's now time for Russia to come back strongly, and Russia has asked 10 US diplomats to leave their country in retaliation for Washington's expulsion of 10 Russian diplomats over alleged election interference and other malign actions. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said on Friday. The US government on Thursday also blacklisted Russian companies and barred US banks from buying sovereign bonds from Russia's central bank, National Wealth Fund, and Finance Ministry. Russian Foreign Minister said Moscow would also end the activity in Russia of US funds and NGOs that interfere in the country's internal affairs. The Russian Foreign Ministry said John Sullivan, the US ambassador to Russia, should return home for consultations too. Washington said its own sanctions were payback for Russia's interfering in last year's US election, cyber hacking, bullying Ukraine, and other alleged malign actions, but Russia denies all the US allegations. Well, the opponents of the military government in Myanmar under the banner of the CRPH on Friday announced the formation of a national unity government, that's NUG. The government will be headed by the deposed President U Win Mint as President and Aung San Suu Kyi as the State Chancellor. The CRPH also announced the portfolios of other ministers of the government, which includes the members of parliament who were elected in national elections held on the 8th of November last year. People in several towns in Myanmar welcomed the formation of the NUG by clapping, lighting candles and singing revolutionary songs. Meanwhile, protest.
The main job is to end this military dictatorship once for all and to restore democracy and freedom for the people of Myanmar and to build Federal Democratic Union of Myanmar and have people's government emerge. So until we achieve those goals, we will not rest.
Meanwhile, protests continued in Myanmar even as 6 people were shot dead on Thursday at the Khani township in Sagaing region. According to the human rights group AAPP, till Friday, 726 people have been killed by the military since the protests began after the military government took over on Feb 1st. Well, heading into a short commercial break, we'll be back in a short while. Stay tuned and keep watching DD India.
Kitchen waste, green waste, dried leaves from the garden, which are a source of carbon.
The money we received from the government added to our savings all went into the rice mill. I was into athletics before going in for judo, which really attracted me. It is a wonderful sport for girls and very beneficial.
Welcome back to News on the Hour. Now taking a look at global numbers when it comes to COVID. More than 14 crore 5 lakh people worldwide have so far tested for COVID-19, while over 11 crore 93 lakh people have recovered from COVID-19. Total death toll across the world, 30 lakh 12,000 people losing their lives. United States worst affected, 3 crore 23 lakh cases of COVID-19. The death toll in America now standing at over 5 lakh 80, close to 5 lakh 80,000. Well, German Chancellor Angela Merkel on Friday received her first shot of AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine. Merkel's spokesman on Twitter quoted the leader saying she is happy to receive her first dose of COVID-19 and that vaccinations are the key to overcoming the pandemic. Germany's vaccine regulator has recommended limiting the use of AstraZeneca's vaccine to those aged over 60, citing risk of a rare clotting condition. German Finance Minister Olaf Scholz also received the first shot of AstraZeneca's vaccine earlier on Friday. Well, the US Center for Disease Control and Prevention Advisory Panel will meet again on the 23rd of April to discuss whether the pause on the use of Johnson & Johnson's COVID-19 vaccine should continue after delaying a vote on the matter earlier this week. US health regulators recommended the use of Johnson & Johnson vaccine be paused after reports of 6 cases of rare brain blood clots in women out of some 7 million women who have received the shot in the United States. The advisory panel on Wednesday called for more data before making a decision on how and whether to resume the use of the one-shot Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Well, Brazil continues to remain one of the worst hit countries by the COVID-19 pandemic. With mounting cases, vaccinations, maximum of the population has become a priority for Brazil. Armed with medical cases carrying vaccines, syringes and sanitizing gel, Brazilian health workers trekked up to Rio de Janeiro's often violent Rocinha slum to vaccinate the poor against COVID-19. Brazil has so far registered 1,38,34,000 COVID cases, while deadly virus has claimed the lives of more than 3,69,000 people. Well, the Joint Committee on Vaccination and Immunization on Friday asked pregnant women in Britain to get a COVID-19 vaccine made by Pfizer or Moderna, stating that there is more real-world data to show they are safe. The JCVI said nearly 90,000 pregnant women had been vaccinated in the US, mainly with the 2 American vaccines, without any safety concerns being raised. Pregnant women had previously been advised against taking the vaccine in Britain because not enough information was known about the impact.
Got some safety information from the United States program where both the Moderna and the Pfizer vaccine have been being used extensively over the last few weeks and given to very large numbers of pregnant women. And this finally means that we've got a decent safety database for at least 2 out of the 3 vaccines that are now being used in the UK. And that enables us to recommend those for pregnant women who will be being called forward now in larger numbers as the program moves down through the age ranges.
Well, moving to Argentina in South America, which is facing a deadly second coronavirus wave, the capacity of intensive care units in the hospital on the outskirts of Buenos Aires have been pushed to the limit with the explosion of COVID-19 cases in the country. The average of new cases in Argentina increased 89% in the last 2 weeks. Meanwhile, bed occupancy in the intensive care units in the capital metropolitan area rose from 61.5% to 72.5% on Wednesday. Argentina's government announced new pandemic restrictions in and around the capital to rein in a sharp rise or a sharp spike in COVID-19 cases. Argentina has so far registered more than 265,000 COVID-19 cases with over 59,000 deaths. On to a look at the markets. The 3 main Wall Street indexes on Friday ended higher for the day and week, with the S&P 500 and the Dow breaking closing records as investors took strong economic data and bank earnings as signs of momentum in the US pandemic rebound. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 159.31 points, or 0.47% to 34,195 points. The S&P 500 gained 14.39 points, or 0.35% to 4,184 points. And the Nasdaq Composite added 11 points, or 0.08% to 14,049 points. On sports, the Indian Cricket Board has agreed to field both men's and women's teams for the Los Angeles Olympics in 2028. BCCI has also agreed to field the women's team for the Birmingham Commonwealth Games next year. BCCI's willingness to participate in the Olympics could be a huge boost for the International Cricket Association or the International Cricket Council's plans to get a place in the Olympics. Cricket was last part of the Olympics in 1900. While England all-rounder Ben Stokes will be out for up to 12 weeks after an X-ray and scan showed that he would need surgery on a fractured left index finger. He will miss England's home test series against New Zealand starting on June 2nd. He was injured while fielding during the Rajasthan 4-run loss to Punjab on Monday. Stokes was named the Wisden's leading cricketer in the world for the second year in a row on Wednesday. Well, veteran Tamil actor, comedian and Padma Shri awardee Vivek died this morning in a Chennai hospital following a cardiac arrest. He was 59. According to doctors, Vivek had a 100% blockage in the left anterior descending artery vessel, which led to a massive cardiac arrest. The medical bulletin stated that the cardiac arrest was not linked to COVID-19 vaccination that the actor had taken the previous day. Vivek was brought to the SIMS hospital at 11 a.m. on Friday in an unconscious state, after which he had undergone emergency coronary angiogram followed by angioplasty. Vivek was in the news for the efforts to remove the fear of vaccination among the public. Instead of going to a private hospital, he chose to get himself vaccinated at a government hospital to spread awareness. Vivek received several awards, including the Tamil Nadu state government and Filmfare for his roles in more than 220 films. In 2009, the actor was conferred the Padma Shri. Well, that's all we have time for in this edition of News on the Hour. But remember, the fight against COVID-19 continues. Simple steps to follow: SMS. Don't forget these 3 words or these 3 letters as you step out of the house. This acronym of SMS. What does SMS stands for? S stands for sanitizing, M stands for masking yourself, and S stands for social distancing. So follow these 3 simple steps. You know, vaccination is very much happening in India, and all those people who are 45 and above who have not got themselves vaccinated, please get yourself registered for vaccination. But those people who are below those age, you need to protect yourself, not only yourself but also your loved ones. But we also need to care for humanity at large. This is your duty, this is my duty, and this is everyone's duty. Let's not forget that, and let's end this bulletin with a smile on our faces. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye. Take care. Have a safe and wonderful weekend ahead.